Good morning. My name is James Proctor, and I'm starting a talk just to share insights, wisdom that I've gained through reading, which is a passion of mine, and I would like to spread it with all those who would listen. This first talk is titled The Gifts of Imperfection, which is a book that I just recently read that was passed down to me by someone very special, a mentor, someone who has really been able to inspire me and empower me. And I just want to get into one of the points that actually connects with my mentor passing me down this book. And this quote comes from Brene Brown, who's the author of The Gifts of Imperfection. And she pretty much quotes and says, "Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship." As I just reflect on my mentor who passed me this book and other mentors who have been very impactful in my life, I just think of the feeling that first time I spoke with them, and it was just like this feeling of worth and being seen, being heard, being valued. Because someone like me, I'm someone who, I struggled with, I guess, my personality. I'm an introvert, so at times, I can shy away from things or just get lost in the crowd. And my mentors has been very helpful with seeing that in me, but not judging me just based off of that, but judging me by what they see in me. And that's where the feeling seen, heard, and valued come in. Just conversations, just one-on-one conversations with them has helped me, I guess, feel comfortable and confident, has built confidence in me to even do something like this right now, which is taking my passion, taking what I love to do, which is to read, and using it to fuel my purpose, which is to speak and write. So without a mentor to help me to see my worth and see my value, I would not have the confidence that I have to even present something of this nature. Brene Brown, she makes a lot of good points in this book, following this idea of connection and just understanding the gifts of your own imperfection. Like, for example, mine's of feeling imperfect because I'm not the life of the party, but there's a gift in that, which is what I'm doing right now. Just realizing what it is and being comfortable with, where I may feel like where I may feel as though I have a shortcoming, but not focusing on that, just focusing my energy on what I can do to impact the people around me. Brene Brown describes courage, the original meaning of courage, which is to speak one's mind by telling one's heart. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. When you think of courage, you think of, I guess these courageous acts, these people that people do. But I like the way Brene Brown puts it, as she gives the original meaning, which is courageous is something as simple as speaking your mind from the heart. Something I used to say is that the most courageous thing you can do in life is follow your heart. And one way of following your heart is being able to speak your heart and understand your heart and follow your heart. I love that definition, and I love that Brene Brown defines that in this book. She also says ordinary courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line. part of telling your heart and sharing those intimate details, those sacred, private details with people is a form of being vulnerable. And by putting that vulnerability on the line, you never know who you may impact. Like me just sharing that I'm an introvert and sharing that I struggle with maybe seeing my worth may help someone right now who's going through that, who may feel like they don't have no value because of whatever imperfection they have. But me sharing this and others and my mentors sharing with me what their vulnerabilities are and what their shortcomings were and how they passed that is what helped build confidence in me. She also describes compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. However, you must not fear setting boundaries and holding people accountable. She talks about compassion and how, the idea of compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. It's easier to have that empathy and be compassionate with people when we understand that, we human ourselves, we make mistakes, we all have these shortcomings and we all, may fall at one point. But when we think of the idea of a shared humanity and how we are in this fight together and we all going through these things together, it makes you, I guess, or it makes me understand how I don't have to be perfect, or the next person around me don't have to be perfect, but sharing our stories and getting an understanding of each other is true courage, is true. It's true fearlessness, and I'm gonna get into fearlessness a little later, but I feel like being able to not judge someone, but to have a conversation is true fearlessness. I think we live in a time where it's hard for people to have one-on-one conversations. But again, the one-on-one conversations with my mentors, who I didn't know were my mentors when I had my first one-on-one conversation. Prior to my first one-on-one conversation, but being able to have that one-on-one conversation is how I identified my mentors, because of that connection that I immediately felt with them. Had they not had the fearlessness to talk to someone who's an introvert, to talk to someone who may seem a little quirky, would have maybe hindered me from being when I am. So I just love that she puts that, understanding our shared humanity is how we can have real compassion and empathy, or is like maybe one of the first steps of being compassionate and having empathy. Oh, I love this quote. And actually, as we approach this great leader's birthday, Brene Brown quotes Dr. King by saying, "Power is the ability to affect change." When I read these words, it immediately jumped at me, because when you think of someone like Dr. King and all the things that he had to go through in his pursuit of change and for civil rights, it just makes you think of made me think of, what's my purpose? How can I affect change? How can I exhibit this true power? And it goes back to, mentorship. I can affect change by following the example that my mentor set for me, which is to speak to someone one-on-one and maybe change that person's perspective, or inspire that person, or inspire persons, and have them be changes in their own lives, and maybe that will impact their community or where they're from, or just their family or wherever. So that power is the ability to affect change is something that I constantly will carry with me, as I go through life and go through my interaction with people very intentionally, in hopes to just give that positive word of affirmation or encouragement or empowerment to help people affect change. We're in a society right now where change is needed and change is happening, but we want change to be positive, or to lead to a positive result. Brene Brown, she also quotes, or she speaks about a pastor by the name of Ann Robertson, and this was so good. This is another point that really jumped at me when she talked about when Brene Brown quoted the pastor, and the pastor making the difference, or highlighting the difference between happiness and joy. The pastor quotes that happiness, in its Greek definition, was used to describe the freedom of the rich from normal cares and worries, or to describe a person who receives some form of good fortune such as health or money. Whereas joy is the culmination of being in the good mood of the soul. It is found only in God and comes with virtue and wisdom. It isn't a beginner's virtue. It's the culmination. They say its opposite is not sadness, but fear. Whoa. I just want to unpack that some more. I mean, that was so good. When I read it, I immediately wrote that down, meditated, reflected on the difference and my experience with the difference, and how, like, happiness, when you think of happiness, I think some people think of just a smile on your face, waking up in a good mood, and just feeling, happy. Like when I say happy, something, an image automatically comes to mind, in your mind. You think happy, but when she breaks down the meaning in Greek, and how it was used as the freedom from the rich, it makes me think of how even in our society right now, so many people, and even me, I'm guilty of it too, think money will bring happiness. Well, excuse me. They feel money and happiness go hand in hand, which in this definition it actually does. But even people with money are miserable and have this feeling of something's missing, although you have millions of dollars. And I love the way that the pastor used this comparison, because this comparison kind of speaks to what people may be missing, although they have money. Although you may have, as she described, the freedom of being rich and the normal cares and worries of the world, you're still missing that good mood of the soul, which Pastor Ann Robertson describes as the culmination of as joy being the culmination of being in the good mood of the soul. It can only be found with God, it's found only in God and comes with virtue and wisdom. It isn't a beginner's virtue, it's the culmination. They say it's the opposite. They say its opposite is not sadness, but fear. I just want to take the time out and just share how fear is something that held me back in my life for a long time in my life, and I didn't even know it. I felt the fear of failure. Being in college and always getting positive affirmation from my parents and like I said, from mentors in throughout high school, throughout family members, whoever always encouraged me and even praised me, like gave me that affirmation and encouragement. But fearing that I'm not doing enough with it, fearing that I'm going to fail, held me back. It held me back, and it wasn't until I experienced true joy, which is that fearlessness, that, I may fail at one point in time. Even doing this talk, I've been wanting to do this for so long, but I even felt that fear creeping up. Like, what if I don't sound good on it, or what if people don't react to it? It held this up. But at the end of the day, I had to look past that, and I'm thankful for the moment, the revelation that I had, that you know what, don't fear failure. Go straight into it, and if you get knocked down, if you fear, if you fail, just learn from it, and be better. Like it released joy in me, a joy that I can't describe. The joy that wakes me up to want to pursue my purpose, whether I whether I fail at it or not. I'm gonna keep going and empower people until, as long as I'm here on earth. Knowing my purpose, knowing my passions is what wakes me up in the morning. So that fear was kind of like blocking that. So it was robbing me of my joy. I refuse to be robbed of my joy. And I love that she puts, it can only be found with God, because with me believing in Jesus and going through the experience I went through, I found God in that moment. And God, the way I know him as Jesus, I found him in that moment, and that's what helped me reach the joy that I have now. Without God, I wouldn't have this joy. I wouldn't have understood this, to even be able to read and connect all these principles and find my purpose. Like that alone, waking up knowing what my purpose is freedom in itself. Because I have a reason to wake up every morning. I have a reason to navigate, even when things look bad. I have a purpose in it, and my purpose is what's gonna help the situation. So I got all of that from reading this part of the book, and understanding and having a breakdown of happiness and joy. And just the last point I want to make is that money can, in this, you always hear that money can buy you happiness, but according to this definition, money can buy you happiness. It just can't buy you joy. You can only get joy, according to this definition, with God and with virtue and wisdom. Another thing, other than fear, that held me back is comparison. Comparing myself to other people, seeing what other people's talents and abilities are, and saying, man, I wish I had that. Or even, I'll be very transparent, even looking at other people and having some form of envy or jealousness, or being jealous that I don't have those abilities. I'm not an extrovert. I'm this introvert. I'm the quiet kid in the room, observing things. But there's observing things where there's another person who can come in a room and light it up. Just being that social butterfly, and everyone likes them, everyone loves them, and so me comparing myself to others hindered me too, because it robbed me of my joy, and it brought back all of those fears and doubts. Whereas Brene Brown quotes in a book that comparison is the thief of happiness. And I'll go further. It could be the thief of joy as well. Because me comparing myself to people allowed me to focus on what I don't have, versus reflecting and meditating on the gifts that I do have, that God has uniquely placed in my life, to give me to operate in my purpose. So while I'm looking at someone maybe operate in their purpose, or maybe even not operate in their purpose, I'm robbing myself of the happiness and joy that comes with operating in my purpose. So that comparison as a thief of happiness really jumped out at me, and I'm glad I'm able to share it, because if anyone is going through that, where you are comparing yourself to someone else's life, or comparing yourself to society model that's supposed to work, and you're not quite there, don't compare yourself. Just reflect, meditate on what it is that you're gifted at, what you love to do, what your passion is, and wear that, and others will be attracted to you, and will look to you for guidance and wisdom and what it is that you're destined to be. As I begin to close, I want to share a couple more points that I got from the book. And this is more so, Brene Brown, she talks about how to connect with people, because mainly, the book is about understanding your imperfections, as a way of understanding your imperfections so that you can deal with them and understand them, and also focus on what makes you great, as a way to connect with people. Ultimately, we are here to connect with other people, and something that she says it helps with this connection is being slow to respond and quick to think. Also, to transfer calm, not anxiety. And I go back to my mentors and how, again, I'm the quiet person, but when I'm in their presence, I feel comfortable speaking and sharing my goals and even sharing my weaknesses and sharing things about me that I may not feel comfortable sharing with other people, because of their ability to be slow to respond and quick to think. I think what my mentors were able to do was maybe share their experiences, give me a space to talk, and while I'm talking, I can see that they're engaging, they're listening. I think we've lost sight of how to listen to people at times, or we fall short of listening to people because we live in this fast-paced society to where time is money. You always hear that, but when you take time or give someone time by listening and being slow to respond, and quick to think about what's being said, process things, and respond accordingly. It is a great way to connect with people, and I think when the thinking part is what allows you to transfer a calm energy versus someone giving you some information, or sharing maybe their doubts, and you transfer anxiety instead of that calm. I appreciate my mentor's ability to transfer calm and empower me, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why we connected so well. And finally, I think this goes with the purpose argument that I've been sharing. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. This right now, what I'm doing, it makes me come alive. I was laying down around 5 o'clock in the morning. My son had just woke up. Had to change him. All those who are new parents, or just recently have a newborn, you understand the struggle. My son, he was crying. He needed his bottle, needed to be changed. And just before I was able, because he don't go right to sleep. He takes his time. So as I'm putting him back to sleep, in my mind, I'm saying, I was supposed to do this talk. My fears were coming in, and then it just hit me like, this stuff makes you come alive. Like, this is your purpose. Like, just do it. Just do it, and see how long it goes. Like right now, I'm on 24 minutes, and I'm just talking. I'm doing what I love to do. I read the book back in the summer, and I'm just now being able to share what's in it. But you know what? I'm doing it, and it feels great. And I hope when it reaches the audience, it does something for you. And if it doesn't, feel free to give me your feedback. But just me being able to get up and finally do what I said I wanted to do, it feels great. You know, yes, I do feel like it will help, but even if it's not, like it goes back to the point. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. This makes me come alive. This morning is going to be different because I was able to wake up, do something that I said I wanted to do, and do something that I feel is in my purpose. It's nothing better than that. I challenge all those who are listening to reach out. If you had a mentor in your life who had the kind of impact that I've described on this talk, I want you to reach out to them, thank them, and just have a conversation with them, see how their life is going. But most of all, the purpose of it is just thank them for what they've done for you. Oftentimes people don't get the roses when they can smell them, as the cliche goes. But I want you to thank your mentors. Let them know you appreciate them, and I'm gonna do the same. Let them know that you appreciate them, and I also want you, and I also challenge you to seek someone, if you haven't done so already. Seek someone to impact in the same way that you were impacted by that mentor. If you are currently mentoring someone, reach out to them as well and give them a word of encouragement, and push them to what it is that their destiny is, or just guide them. That's my challenge to you as I close. Thank you very much for listening. Please, if you have any feedback that you would like to give me, I'm open to feedback, or just any word of positivity. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful month. Enjoy life. Have joy.